Today we're going to talk about expository essays, and I promise it's not as scary as it sounds. Expository is just a fancy word that means to explain or give information, so it's not that scary really. Okay, as mentioned on the previous slide, we're still talking about expository essays, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is an expository essay. Well, as mentioned before, it is giving information about a topic. One way you can help yourself to remember this is that expository and explain start with the same letters. And when you explain something, you're basically giving information. So that's what an expository essay is. It does require some prior knowledge about the topic. And if you do not have a lot of prior knowledge about your topic, then you may have to do some research. In the previous slide, I mentioned that you might have to do some research when you're doing an expository essay. There may also be times when your expository essay writing prompt gives you a text as reference. Anytime that you do research or you have a text that you need to reference, you need to use MLA in-text citations. And basically that is just a way of saying where your information came from. Now, the main format for MLA in-text citations is to put the author's last name and then the number of the page in parentheses like it is right here. Notice I don't have a comma or a pound sign or a PG period or anything in between the author's last name and the page number. It's just the author's last name and the number in parentheses. And that is how you would cite where it came from. There may be instances where there's no author listed. In that case, you're going to use the title. And then if you have a page number, you'll just do the title and the page number. Again, you're going to have this in parentheses after the evidence that you cited. If there's no page number, then you're going to use a paragraph number if possible. Sometimes you're going to be citing poems. In a poem, you're going to want to use the line number. So here's an example with the author's last name, and then this would be line 12 of the poem. Websites don't have page numbers. So in the case of a website, you're just going to use the author's last name if it's available. If not, then you're going to use the title of the website. If you state the author and the title in your evidence, then you don't have to restate that in your in-text citation. You can simply do the page number. So here's an example. According to John Smith, so that's the author, in his article, The Best Teacher Ever, so that's the title, then John Smith says, Miss Betha is the best teacher, obviously. But notice that we did not have to put Smith here in our MLA in-text citation because we already have Smith up here in our example. So in this case, the page number in parentheses is just fine. In some cases, when you're doing an expository essay, you might have to create a works cited, which basically just lists the resources that you use. But if you're doing an expository essay on a test in class, or you just have one text that you've been given to reference, then you usually don't have to do a works cited, but you do still need to use in-text citations. Anytime that you take information from a text, you need to include in-text citations. And for more information about this, there is a link down here that you can go to that will tell you all about MLA formatting. All right, so a little bit more about what is an expository essay. Well, an expository essay is going to have a formal tone, which means that you're going to be speaking or writing in third person. That means that you're not going to be saying things like I or me or my. Since it's a formal academic tone, you're not going to be using any slang like LOL or IDK or that was lit. You're not going to say I think because I is first person, not third person. And then also, it should be obvious that what you're writing is what you think. So you don't need to say it. That's repetitive and unnecessary. An expository essay should have a good or logical organization. That's very important. Logical sequence means that the order in which you present the information makes sense. Expository essays usually have three main points that they use to support their thesis statement, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But those three main points are usually the body paragraphs of the expository essay. An expository essay should be unbiased or neutral, meaning that there is not one side taken over the other, that it's objective. It's not an argumentative essay, so you are not presenting your opinion, and it's not a story. It's just simply information, explanations, and descriptions. Okay, so let's talk about some setups for expository essays. Sometimes you might be asked to describe something. You may be asked to list the order of events, compare two or more things, explain cause and effect, describe a problem and solution. All of these are expository essay prompts, but they're also ways that you can set up your essay based on your topic. So you would look at your topic and decide which one of these structures would work best for your essay. So while expository may sound like a scary word, you've actually probably seen many expository writing prompts before. A lot of times they might appear on a test. The test might ask you to list the reasons or the factors that led to something, to describe a process, or explain something using evidence. All of these are informational essays, which makes them expository. That makes them an expository writing prompt. So you've actually probably done these before without even realizing it. Now that we've discussed what an expository essay is, let's talk about the parts of an expository essay. We'll go into each one in more detail later, but for now, let's just do a general overview of what should be in an expository essay. First, you'll start with an introduction paragraph. Your introduction should have an attention getter or a hook that grabs the reader's attention and makes them want to read your paper. The most important part of the introduction and your entire essay is your thesis, because your thesis states your main idea or your central idea. And then the rest of the paper all talks about that one thesis statement. You'll have three body paragraphs, and each body paragraph is going to be a main idea. So you'll have main idea 1, main idea 2, and main idea 3. And so that will be the topic sentence of each of your paragraphs is your main ideas. And then for each of those topic sentences, you're going to give evidence, and then you're going to explain how that evidence relates back to this thesis. So how does it relate to your central idea? Then in the conclusion, you're going to restate your thesis statement in different words so that it's not repetitive, and give a brief summary of these main ideas that you talked about in the body of your essay. You'll also want to put a general statement that kind of refers back to the attention grabber so that the reader is left with that idea at the end of your essay.